just a quick notice from me before we get into today's episode that it was all filmed pre-lockdown, so please don't get at me in the comments. But stay at home, stay safe, and subscribe. They're the 3 main S's that you need in this time. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you on the next one. Do you want me to clap?
Por favor.
Cheers. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Jordan Ritchie Podcast. Now, I'm incredibly excited today because we've got the incredible Sam Nahirny with us. I mean, you're a photographer, social media star, a cook, a quiz master even. I mean, what is there anything that you can't do is what I want to ask.
I mean, ironically, one of them you said you were very overambitious in the word cook. I talk about other people's making amazing cooking, but I'm not the best cook myself. Sure. But ironically, I had to put that disclaimer in because when you said it, I was like, I'm enjoying this intro, and I was like, my girlfriend would kill me if she heard me say I was a good cook. So yeah, that's your answer. But yeah, I do a lot of stuff. Very lucky to do it from Nottingham.
Of course.
Enjoy being creative in all the ways I can.
Sure, and you are a very creative person. And I mean, would you say your photography is your staple kind of, one of your favourite sort of creative outlets?
Yeah, I mean, definitely favourite. And for like most, so I've been doing freelancing or at least working in creative for 8 years probably now. Okay. The very first thing that I did creatively, arguably, was I joined the music charity Music, which I still work for now, help run. And that is a music organisation, Genius Branding, Nottingham, New Music. And so I joined that as work experience in like 2013. Yeah. Because I was also working for Left Line magazine at the time, the local culture magazine. And then
these are proper Nottingham like.
Yeah, and that was it. I'm a Nottingham boy, and you know, a lot of these. I'll be direct. I didn't know music at the time because it was semi-ish new, or at least to me. Sure. Left Line had been around for a while though. I had seen it in the street, picked it up, read it, and then I got an apprenticeship there. That was like my first proper job almost. Yeah. And then did work experience with music. So that as like an intern, and then ended up working 2 days a week there basically, and then fast forward 7-8 years, helping run it now with Mark, the founder, and still very much enjoy it and love doing it. That's amazing. He's kind of been my mentor for like the past 7 or 8 years. I think mentors are really important. You obviously don't always realize at the start they're important. If anything, they're like, oh, why are you telling me what I do kind of thing. That's just being young in it. Yeah, of course. And yeah, he really helped me in loads of different ways, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, but he was really good at helping me learn, like, you know, what to say and what not to say. It sounds really, really boring, but like good email etiquette. Like the stuff like, you know, there's so many people want to work for Stormzy 1975 or shoot a big festival and stuff. So, you know, I don't know the numbers, but I mean, I compare it to musicians because we work with musicians a lot with the music charity. Is we get something we do with the music charity twice a year. We put on panel Q&As with like industry people, and then non-musicians can ask those questions. Yeah. So, you know, we ask those guys questions as well, which sometimes the musicians don't know what they need to know. So we kind of ask it for them and then they're like,
I find that with quite a lot of musicians, that they always a bit like, oh yeah, I should know about that.
Well, I think musicians are just like any creative, is sometimes you can be incredibly talented, but part of the reason you're incredibly talented is you just spent so much time focusing on the talent. You didn't you didn't read the business books. You didn't go to the panel seminars about the kind of stuff. I'm talking about email etiquette. And I mean, that was almost my point. I was just a creative version of that. Is I was starting to learn, hang on a minute, I need to get better at the boring stuff.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's kind of how being a musician in this age has kind of changed, really. Because you kind of need to be almost your own marketer. You need to be your own social media expert. You kind of need to have all of these rolled into one, really.
Well, this is going to sound like you've staged a question, but I don't think you actually know this, so you probably haven't staged this question. My biggest project this year, and I appreciate this will jump all over the place, so sorry to whoever's editing this.
It's cool.
But so my big new project, so amongst the 724 different things that I do, I see a lot of gigs. I go to a lot of shows and I love it. Live music and just music in general, all parts of it. I've loved, like, one of my favorite songs ever is The Chainsmokers' Closer, right? Yeah. To a lot of people, that is like one of the most cringeworthy EDM, like vapid songs ever.
I quite like it. It's quite a good song.
Yeah, well, but this is the interesting thing. Obviously, it's the number one hit around the world. So I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I heard that on the radio a lot. I like it, kind of thing. I love it. But part of why I love it was I saw it live and I saw this massive production value. And then there's even this long story, which we can go on to later. They're kind of the reason I picked up a camera in the first place in like 2014.
Wow.
I've always wanted to be a pop star. That was always kind of the dream. But I kind of got into everything else that I do because I felt like I wasn't musically talented enough to do it. So I was like, okay, I can work around music.
Yeah.
And then I'll be close to the shows. I'll be close to that fame, I guess, and all those kind of things that came with it.
Of course.
And then to be blunt, not just in Nottingham, just generally, I went to a lot of shows that had two extremes. I either went to a show that was sold out, rammed out, they'd smashed the marketing and the branding, but I'm stood there like, these guys are terrible. Like, what is going on? Like, this performance is rubbish. Yeah. But they've got 200, 300, maybe 1,000 screaming fans going, yo, this is insane. Like, sign my t-shirt, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, interesting. Saw a load of those shows and then saw a lot of the other extreme in quite quick succession, which was people that were really, really talented. Like, some of the most mind-blowing talent I've ever seen. I've seen, like, probably over 1,000 artists now live. But there's no one there. Like, as in, they were rubbish at the branding, they were rubbish at the marketing. And I was like, so I started joining a few bits together. This is like November 2018, I think. And started joining some things together. And what I'll finish this by saying is the headline, and it's up to you if you want to dig deeper on it. But it's funny you saying all this stuff about musicians and how in 2020 you've got to be your own brand and marketer, but director of photography, all that kind of stuff. Is my goal / new task for 2020 is I got sick of people being rubbish at that stuff, so I'm becoming a pop star myself, and I'm trying to make the debut single go top 40.
Wow.
Is the current project. Go from having never recorded / released any music to, okay, top 40 is like a few 100,000 streams. That's achievable.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So I think this is breaking news. As into the public, I think you're getting an exclusive.
Come on.
This idea, I'm not going to pretend the idea is an exclusive. The idea happened in like summer, winter 2018, but the single is due to come out in May, June.
I was going to say, like, can we talk a little bit about how that... I mean, obviously, you've spoken a little bit about how that came about of people not being very good at it, and you kind of wanted to change that. Yeah. But has there been anything else of... Obviously, you said it's been a dream for a while now. And what was kind of the moment where you went, do you know what? Hold on a second. Yeah. I'm just going to go for this.
So one of those shows that I was talking about, there was a tipping point. I won't name any names, but I went to one show and it was one of the worst shows I've ever seen. Like, genuinely, my ears were bleeding.
It's no one I know, right?
No. It was in Birmingham, actually. It wasn't in Nottingham. Cool. But yeah, it was really, really bad. And I travelled to go and see the show, which made it even worse because you'd like gone out your way to see something.
Of course.
On a friend's recommendation, went to see the show. It was really, really bad, and it was so bad, but I can't remember what the venue was. It was like a 200 cap venue. But if you're selling out 200 cap venues and you've got screaming fans, that's a good sign you're on the way to something.
Yeah, of course.
And I was there, and I was like, mate, this is one of the worst things I've ever heard. But came off stage and they were bombarded by fans. They were almost all buying a t-shirt, a CD, and there's this thing called 1,000 fans theory, which is if you have 1,000 fans who are like proper dedicated fans, not just fake Instagram fans, 1,000 fans that all basically support you in everything you do, you can make a living off that. You don't need to do anything else.
Wow.
I can't remember. I think it's Malcolm Gladwell, who's like a business guy, to be direct, that makes it. I could be completely wrong, but it's someone in that kind of world of like entrepreneurship gurus kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's very heavily applied to music now because, especially in today's age, 2020, 1,000 fans, and that means like 1,000 people that will come to every show that's near them, that will buy and stream every release you do, that will come to the show, and then because they love you so much, buy the vinyl copy, get you to sign it, and then maybe buy one for their friend because they want their friend to do it. Those kind of level of really, really dedicated fans.
Yeah.
Like 5 Seconds of Summer fan is probably the best example. You see those shows, if you go anywhere near the merch desk or even online, Stan Twitter and all that kind of stuff, like those super dedicated fans. The big artists that are like at that tipping point, once you're over 1,000, you can do that. Now, people are stupid. People blow that money too quickly. People have already signed a label deal where they give away 98% of it.
Yeah.
My point is about being strictly independent with it, and then that's enough to do it. That was more a concept that I thought was interestingly linked. I'm not actually trying to do that. Like, if I can get 1,000 people buy my stuff, awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah.
But I'm aiming way bigger than that. My goal is to go top 40, and then if that works, trying to be humble about this, but if it works, my ego will be on the biggest height it's ever been on. I want to be playing arenas by next year. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
I want to still be your friend if that's happening. And we'll do
you guys can be on guest list. Can you do a reunion podcast?
Yes, I mean I'm so down for that.
I mean it's on record now, so I can't actually get out of it. So
hey mate, you know that thing that you said literally in front of two cameras?
Yeah, you got me at ransom with my own voice and person.
Well, I mean as well, it's an interesting concept because I think I'm well on my way to 1,000 fans. I've got my nan and my mum.
There you go.
So I've got two,
and
which is
like, are they like the level where it's like they're almost 3 dedicated fans?
Yeah, sure. And like, you know, we'll do a vinyl of this. I don't know how that'll work, but a
we could put our
vinyl
faces
of a
on a
podcast.
vinyl. Has anyone ever done that? Maybe
No.
you've got a brand new idea.
Yeah, I mean that's really quite a strange idea.
Because it's gone the other way, innit? Everyone's listening on smart speakers, so why don't you go the opposite way and go like proper old school with your podcast?
Yeah, that would be quite interesting actually. I really don't think that's going to work.
Marketing.
But we'll see if it does. Well, I mean that's it's an amazing goal. I really didn't think we'd get to that level in this podcast, but that's incredible. I mean, the sky's the limit, really, and I feel that you definitely have the work ethic to.
Thank you.
Because I mean, I'm, you know, and this was actually one of the questions that I had planned for you was kind of the stress to work, kind of that amazing relationship that the human race doesn't really do that well with. And I was going to talk to you a little bit, kind of how you kind of cope with that and stuff like. Okay. But every single time I spoke to you about stuff, you're always. It seems like you've been working till 4 a.m. You've got up at 8 a.m. You're doing another 16 hours of this, and this. And it's kind of always quite incredible because I find that quite inspiring. As someone that's a little bit lazy quite often, I do find that quite inspiring.
Cool.
So yeah, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that and kind of, you know, how you deal with the stresses in life. Because I mean, you're working. I mean, it was a joke in the intro, but you do have about 1 million different things you're doing. And I was like, how do you kind of start to, get to grips with it all?
So I'd say I'm only just in 2020 getting to grips with it. I think it is a constant battle. I think any creative stroke, anyone that there's the freelancer thing. So working for yourself, you're always going to be doing that. But then especially if you're freelancing in creative, and creative is so, I guess, subjective. Like at least, you know, if you're a sports person, like if you're a freelance coach or something, if your team is getting goals, you smashed it, and that is measurable. You've done what you're meant to do. You were hired to get this squad smashing it. They are now smashing it. Literally, like you can't misjudge that. No one could say you haven't done that because it's literally data.
Yeah.
With creativity, you can't really do that. So what I try and do is do that as best I can. So I can't go, I want to make the best thing I've ever made, because how do I know what the best thing I've ever made is? Some of my favorite things I've ever made, other people have not. I've thought was average compared to my other stuff.
Of course. It's like anything, isn't it? Really, it's like you look at some artwork that is really famous, and some people love it, some people hate it. It's the same with all that kind of stuff. I kind of find that actually really quite interesting. It's all subjective, and it's always a bit like someone will sit there, you know, for you and the chain smoking and Closer. For someone, you obviously loved it, and you thought, wow, that's incredibly creative. Yeah. Whereas someone like me, I just liked the song and thought it was like, oh yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and you know, I think music is probably one of the most subjective things in the world, really. Sure. And it's funny because like music and sport are probably the two biggest passions around the world. Yeah. And one is completely subjective, one is completely on data. Like,
it's crazy.
You can't really get them further apart. But yeah, going back to the initial question.
Sorry,
No, it's I'm not great at it. I'm better at it, and that's kind of my honest conversation with myself. My honest goal with myself is just to always try and get better. One of the first times we had a conversation at the round table last year, I think that was around a year ago now. I think it was around March, April last year, if I had to try and guess it.
Yeah. Somewhere around there.
Yeah. So beginning of last year, beginning of 2019, I'd say career was starting. Well, it's always been, you know, always been doing more stuff and getting busier and good busy, and you kind of go through this transition of, as a freelancer, like, oh, I've got nowhere. Oh, I'll do loads of stuff for free. Oh, I've got my first paid gig. Blah, blah, blah. And then you start getting to, oh, I'm paying the bills and I'm happy, but I'm not actually doing things I want to do. And then it changes to, oh, I'm paying the bills doing things I want to do. And I think that kind of rush is good. It motivates you, but it can also go, what if it all stops? I need to take every job. So I kind of got to that point by the beginning of last year, and I wanted to do a lot of festivals last year because I felt like the year before I slacked a little bit, and I love working festivals, like shooting them photo and video. Blah, 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 blah. I was meant to go to one. I had like this crazy week, which was actually roundtable week. And it was, I can't remember the details, but it was basically like, 7 a.m. till midnight, basically every night for like a week straight. I did that, and genuinely the only saving grace of my mental health in this, I've got to shout her out, is my girlfriend Emily. Like she forced me to rest in the small amount of time I had, rather than when I got back going on my computer and doing more editing and stuff.
Shout out
Em. But so she really helped with that. But that didn't change the fact that literally just being out the house on shoots and stuff was these crazy hours.
Yeah.
I remember roundtable day, like I think I'd been on like a corporate shoot from like 7 a.m. till like 6 p.m. I then legged it into town. Did the roundtable, which was like 2 hours, and then I was DJing at the bodega afterwards. Did that till like 2 o'clock, and then got up at 7 a.m. the next day to go to this day 2 filming of the shoot that I'd done before. I remember getting there and like
that's just crazy.
I was holding a Red Bull, but even before I drank the Red Bull, I was shaking out of tiredness more than caffeine. I was just like,
Have you ever had a caffeine overdose?
Not caffeine overdose. I'm just hiding my little cup down here.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was the closest thing in terms of like, I guess, mental overdose, I guess. So that week, I think that was the Tuesday. That Saturday, or like a few days after that, was one of my first festivals of 2019. It's called Meadows in the Mountains, and it's this like, you go to the Bulgarian mountains and you spend 4 days with like a local, like basically nanny in Bulgaria, and she barely speaks any English, and she like just takes in a load of you and like feeds you traditional Bulgarian food, and then you go and like have a rave in the mountains basically. And it was
sounds
so
amazing.
It was so my point is I actually never made it. I was really excited. It was my first show I was going to go, but I had to fly from London. That was where because I was going for one of the magazines I worked for, so they covered all flights and stuff. So they got me flights from London, so I had to go to London. Got to like Stansted or whatever airport it was. And long story short, I basically nearly passed out at the airport. And it was the most surreal thing, because I got there early because I was like, right, I'm going to get to the airport because that's the difficult bit, like 3-hour train ride from Nottingham. Did that, got through security, and then my flight wasn't for 3 hours. So I was like, boom, I'm just going to sit in like a coffee shop and get some work done.
Of course.
And I did, and I sat in like, I don't know, Pret or whatever it was for like 2 hours. I did it, I was fine. I had a really productive like few hours. And then I looked at my watch and I was like, okay, like I should check the board because like my flight's going to be at a gate soon. And like the gate is like, so the board is like literally like a few meters away from me. I'm like, I can't really see that. And I was like, okay, maybe like literally like that, like what's going on? And yeah, long story short, like I still don't know precisely what happened. My eye went funny, and then I started panicking a little bit. So like went to the bathroom and like washed my face and stuff. Still really bad. Went lightheaded, got a headache, and went to like the airplane staff because like no one's ever told me what to do in that situation. Like you're in the airlock between going through security but not on the plane yet, so you can't just leave. It's just like in between. It's like I've been there for 3 hours, so I look suspect as anything. Like, just waiting around, like, and then trying to escape. And then basically like I go up to the board and I can't see it, so go up to like the member of staff, and I was like, do you have health and safety people? Like, I don't know, do you? And
please help me.
Yeah, basically, like, because I didn't know what else to say. And I was like, and obviously, understandably, this woman was like, oh, you're probably just nervous about flying. I was like, mate, I did a 13-hour flight last week. Like, I'm fine with flying. Like, this is 2 hours. It's nothing. But I understand why she thought that. And then I was like, so she basically said to me, like, look, we either call, like, an A&E team or nothing. Like, they're your two options. I was like, well, I don't know if it's a problem. That's my thing. Like, I might just have something in my eye, or I might be dying. Like, I don't know.
Well, I'm very thankful that it wasn't the second one.
No, I mean, so that happened. I tried to get on my flight, but I was such a mess. I was literally struggling to see that I basically couldn't get to the gate in time because I was like still in like the middle bit.
And so it's literally like your sight of was it left
eye?
Left eye just gone pretty much.
So not completely. So it was black, but like it was
very blurry.
Yeah, it was like someone had put like glasses that were very, very wrong for me over that eye. So everything was like really distorted.
Okay.
And weirdly enough, this eye was fine. So I was kind of like seeing better if I did that. It was really odd. I like fell over a few people because I couldn't see anything.
Wow.
And then I tried to get to the gate, missed it, and then I can see the plane through the window, and I'm like having a conversation with myself. I'm like, do I get on this plane? I don't know anything about Bulgaria. Like, does my European healthcare like cover this? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So I probably could have fought my way through because the plane was still there, but I kind of just made a decision. I was like, this ain't worth it.
Yeah.
So I kind of went up to the airport staff and I was like, hey,
You know
what
that,
do I do?
You know that A&E
Yeah.
people.
But this was the thing. They weren't as not in a bad way, because it was like a different part of the airport. So I think they just thought I was like a chancer or something. Someone who missed their flight. I was basically had to be like, look, I fell ill almost like half an hour ago. I can't get on that flight, so I need to get out of this airport. What do I do? And then like one of the most uncomfortable things I ever had to do is like wait by this like pickup point, which literally says something along the lines of pick up for people that missed their flight. I was like, oh. And like you got all these queues of holiday goers and stuff looking at you, and then like this guy just comes and picks you up like, and just like walks you through. And it's so fascinating because I'd never done this before. Is you don't think about it. That will happen enough. People will miss flights and all that kind of thing.
Of course.
So when someone misses their flight, but they're in at the gate or whatever, how do they get out of the airport? You can't just like put them outside where the plane is.
Yeah.
So like there's literally like all these side entrances and stuff which you don't know are there. And if you've ever walked through a big airport, that's normally what security are like just standing in front of. And I never knew this. So they take you through all these side bits, which is basically shortcuts to get back to like the front entrance.
Do you have to kind of do it in reverse? Do you have to still show them your passport at the right bit?
Well, everything except security, but the passport and like the ID check was so thorough, and understandably, because again, someone could just basically do something really naughty in that in between space, maybe try and damage someone, and then just leg it. So I went through. This guy was taking me through, and I think it's this one other woman who like just had missed her flight, and took her through all these side bits. And there's this guy's on like literally every 5-10 meters, there's a new bloke in a uniform going boarding pass, and I'm like. And like obviously every time they're looking at it, like it says you got to the airport at 12, your flight's at 4 p.m. How did you miss your flight? And like I look like such a liar here because I'm like I look fine, like I'm stressed out, but I look fine.
Yeah, I just can't see in my left eye.
Literally, like I've lost sight.
How does that work?
Yeah, so I did that. I literally had to go through like 5 or 6 people that did that, and then got out, and I was like, "Am I going to try and get a new flight?" I was like, "Nah, I need to go home." So, ironically, what ended up being, that was meant to be an all expenses paid trip where I was like covering it and going to have fun with a bunch of friends. What ended up happening was I paid all the stuff to like get to London and that.
Oh, no.
I got kicked. I had to bring myself out, and then I had to call the PR that had hooked me up with all the flights and accommodation stuff and go, look, I basically just passed out in the airport and the next flight isn't for like 2 days. I'm really sorry, but I can't make it. And they were basically like, yeah, okay, well, you got to pay. You got to pay for the flights and everything. So I went from basically having a free holiday to having to pay 300 plus quid to pass out in an airport. Like that was my day from start to finish. And I was like, and then I went to the doctors the following day, got back to Knots, and the doctor, this is paraphrased heavily, but basically went, yeah, you stressed yourself out so much with like overworking and screens and stuff that you basically shattered like an artery in your eye or something. I was like, I had no idea that was even like a possible thing. Like,
what?
Now, the logical part of that is I am overworked in the sense of obviously looking at screens, so I imagine it was something to do with like the screen.
Well, let's get away from any screens now.
We're doing quite well right now. We're actually
it's just quite a few lights. Yeah,
it's all good.
They're quite blinding actually when you look at them.
Yeah, don't do that. I just did that. That's a bad idea.
I just looked at it and was like, oh my eyes. Oh mate, well that is. Quite an incredible story for a podcast, so thanks for sharing. But also quite a harrowing experience of like, it's just a bit of a shame that, again, as you said, it went from the incredible, I'm going to have an amazing time with my friends to I've just paid for basically quite an expensive doctor's trip.
Basically, yeah, literally. I mean, if nothing else, it did humble me because I just got back from LA a few weeks before, and a lot of people out there were telling me about the classic American healthcare, how they have to pay so much for like tiny things. So I was like, yeah, this is annoying. I basically just paid 300 quid for someone to check my eye out. But I was like, some people in America would be paying like $1,000 for someone to check their eye out.
Yeah, well, it's mad out there. It's mad. Like, I mean, actually, it was a bit when I went to LA, and I mean, we'll speak about it now because it will fit. But when I went to LA, I actually like damaged my leg, and my mum was a little bit kind of like, you're fine until we get back to the UK. Just because of the way it is out there. But I mean, LA for me, and I feel that you're going to really resonate with this when I say this, it's potentially one of the best places I've ever been to by a country mile.
100%.
Like I mean, I went when I was like 14 on a family holiday. Nice. You've obviously been recently. And so talk to me a little bit about that, because again, when we have spoken in the past, you've spoken very much about LA being your dream in some ways. And I mean, don't get me wrong. If obviously this arena thing's happening, then you've got to hook your boy up and we'll go out.
Of course, we'll do it. We'll do a writing sesh.
See, that's two things I've now got you decked to rights. I'm loving this podcast.
How's this working for me? I'm just giving you stuff. So LA is an interesting. I don't even know what it's obviously a place, but it's more than a place to me. That sounds quite cheesy, but
no, but I do understand that because there's almost like an image with LA, and there's a kind of culture around LA. So I do get what you say.
No, I think world is probably the easiest broad term to use of it. Is like, it's obviously just place, but like all the things that literally the place itself isn't being there, but then like the industries that obviously run out of there. So much of I've never been ashamed of how much I love pop music.
Yeah,
especially in like the past decade or so, like EDM's always had a massive soft spot for me, and that was actually the whole Chainsmokers story I mentioned earlier on. Like the way I got into photography, wanted to be a photographer, was a bunch of EDM artists, especially ones like Chainsmokers back when it was first starting, like 2014, 2015. They were the first musicians I'd ever seen take photographers on tour with them. So obviously there'd always been photographers taking photos of shows, but as in they would take the same guy or girl, and in fact Chainsmokers took multiple of them on their world tour with them, and it would be this person's job to just take photos backstage of them doing cool stuff, meeting famous people, through to the big shows, like obviously the big productions out in arenas and stadiums and stuff.
Which you have yourself done a little bit of, haven't you? You've done one with Amber Run quite recently. You went to Amsterdam with them, didn't you?
So I did 20 dates with Amber Run, which was a lot of fun.
They're an incredible band, by the way.
Yes.
They are amazing.
Yeah, man. They're very, very talented and very, very lovely humans. And that was one of the really nice, weird things about how the world works, that I was a fan of them. That wasn't just... As much as they're a Nottingham band, so I'd met them before through some of the music stuff, and when they released music here in Nottingham, like 2014, 2015, I was more... They would definitely know me more as being a fan that had been at gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
So then, fast forward, I just directed their latest music video. So that music video came out...
Director as well. Like, I mean, I just feel like I'm adding more and more stuff on. It's incredible.
So that came out... 2 weeks ago. It's probably like the biggest music video I've done in terms of like, profile, I guess. As in proper music video. I've done a lot of like highlight reels and stuff for people before.
I was going to say, like, I can't leave it alone. I'm going to be honest. I can't. Is that I want to know a tiny little bit more. Obviously, you've given me a beautiful preview sort of thing in this podcast. But kind of what sort of music? I mean, obviously, you're saying it's going to be pop.
Yeah.
What is there going to be like a little other genres in there? Like, I mean, obviously we've just had the new Justin Bieber, which is kind of R&B, sort of poppy still. Yeah. Is there going to be a few little hints of any other? Yeah,
I mean, so this started as like a bit of a social experiment almost. It was, I can't sing. That is a fact. I've tried. I've had vocal lessons. I didn't get much better. That kind of stuff.
Sure.
So it was very much can we still make a song by basically throwing a load of effects on my vocal, basically?
Okay, cool.
It's gotten way past that point now, because that was the initial idea. I have become a better singer, and I have, I also now know what my range is. So part of my problem why I sounded terrible was I was aiming for a note which was way out of my range and stuff like that. Pardon me, but...
Are you going to go a little bit Travis Scott with it?
Not to that level, but I mean, Travis has done a really good job of taking, essentially autotune as most people know it, and obviously making a unique sound. The problem with autotune and stuff like that is it's hard to sound unique, because unless you're doing it in a really quick, creative way like he did, you just sound like another artist that's using autotune. And especially because like hip hop, rap, R&B, all genres I love, but it's so dominated by that sound. Everyone wants to sound like Travis Scott, and it's interesting because that hasn't changed for like 3 years. He's had a really good job of just like dominating that sound. So there'll be a little bit of that, but this is meant to be super successful because, one, I want it to be, but two, because that was kind of the point of this, is I love popular music, and even when it changes what that popular music is, 9 times out of 10, it's something that I enjoy. I love big choruses. I have a short attention span, so I don't like when songs are over 3 or 4 minutes, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And it's more taking that stuff. I've got spreadsheets on spreadsheets which are like, okay, Spotify does the top 40 viral chart every week, which is the songs that have had the most, like the biggest surge, and the closest they can link it to going viral. So like I'm analysing that all the time, like both what trends are in these songs, like is there a certain sound which always goes viral, etc., but also like what is making them go viral. TikTok's obviously a big part of that at the minute. So like almost half of the campaign is like TikTok focused. I say that as someone that has literally never put a TikTok of my own up in my life, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be posting like 30 a day. But that's because it's all about the campaign. That was the initial point from it, is like it's, you know, we're talking to dance troupes all around the world about starting a dance with it. You know, we're filming like 30 pieces of video content for the entire campaign, so we can put like one piece of video content up 15 days in the build up for the whole week of the release, and then the week after the release. Still got to work out what I'm going to do after that, but 30 pieces of video content feels quite enough already.
Incredible.
And then like it was a whole TikTok campaign. We got a bunch of TikTok influencers on board. Then there's the Instagram stuff. I know Instagram really well, and how to, you know, grow on there, so continue to do that.
Sure.
Facebook marketing, trying to get as obviously many old school media appearances as possible. But if I could only pick one, the point of this is, if you know how to work media and marketing, you can do this.
Yeah.
As long as the song is average.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's out and out bad, it's not going to work. But as long as it's average, it doesn't have to be good, then you can get away with doing that. So I appreciate your question was genre-wise.
Yeah.
My point is, we're still kind of finding the genre, because the song is probably halfway done now, and it's forever changing every time we're in the studio. But like it's changing in the sense of what we think will be successful. And I know obviously most musicians probably just vomited hearing that, because they're like, it's all about the art, man. It's all about, you know, making music that means something to me. And this might be controversial, but I've never cared about that. I get why people do, and I think it's important to make art that resonates with people, helps people. But I've never been the kind of person that's enjoyed that kind of thing. So
it's kind of interesting that you speak about that, because obviously we've had some people on this podcast before, and they're obviously in their heads it's kind of the art. That's the way that they would focus on it. Whereas you're kind of, it's almost like the science behind it. It's almost like you've again, as you're saying, sitting looking at the spreadsheets, looking at the algorithms. You're kind of you've got this plan in place, and you're like, well, I'm going to smash this. And it's just incredible to see how they can both work, but at the same, like, it's I just find they're like polar opposite ways of doing it, but they both kind of work, and they've both got their pros and cons. It's amazing.
And I think, you know, in a dream world, if this all goes really, really well, and therefore I build an audience off the back of it, whether I get the top 40, top 100, whatever, or not, build an audience in any way, if that works, the dream is I enjoy it so much and do so well at it that then I can make music that's a little bit more truer to me.
Sure.
But basically the two extremes you were talking about kind of take a bit from both. Because the problem is they are extremes, and most musicians, I've got a lot of friends that are musicians, and like one of the things I struggle with the most is I'm a straight talking friend, and like both to the level of, if I love something, I will hype them up like no tomorrow. But if I don't like it and I think it could be better, I'll tell them. And, a lot of people don't have people like that around. And like, yeah, man, it's good. And it's the worst song they've ever written. Like a lot of my friends are some of the most talented songwriters or performers that I know, but they're just either lazy or focus that energy on the wrong thing. I love the industry. Even my music taste, I know, is dictated to me by the industry. I know that stuff like Chainsmokers is made to, you know, meet the science of what chord progressions my mind likes and stuff like that. But I don't care. I love it. And like, and I'm honest about that. And I feel like we've always had a societal thing of, you know, almost like F the system kind of thing. It's like, people are like, oh, okay, this song's made to be liked, so I'm not going to like it. I'm like, okay, fair enough. But also you do realize that's literally made on science. So, you know, when you're pretending not to like it, you probably do like it. And like, fair enough, you can like your 40-minute Bon Iver crying into a log of wood, but like...
I'm actually going to see him soon.
Really? Well, I don't... Do you know what? It's funny enough, like trying to sleep on that couch I was talking about last night, I put like a chill playlist on, because like the guy next to me was snoring well loud, and like I'm still learning about the technical side of music, but he's clearly doing some really impressive stuff like on that side. And,
of course.
Sad boy, sad girl, that kind of stuff.
It's not your vibe.
I don't want to be a hypocrite, because there's a chance that in like 3 months I'm going to go, right, if I want to be famous, I've got to write a song where I pretend I'm still crying about someone. But and you know what? I'd probably happily release that song, hopefully smash it, and then show this interview and go, told you I was going to do that. It's really, when you start looking at like what people are actually doing,
of course,
like the artists you love, and like breaking it down. Obviously, when it's on a major label, it's even more interesting, because they will probably have people whose dedicated job it is to do that, to make that content, to schedule it, to know when it's going to go out, to create a natural TikTok campaign and all those kind of things. But even if nothing else, the thing that's really, really interesting for me is because the law is starting to catch up with it, especially in the UK, about how transparent they have to be when people are paid for it.
Yeah.
So the whole like ad that's sponsored, that's happening more and more with TikTok, and it's happening more and more with literally like sponsored content in general.
Sure.
So like I think more and more people are going to go, oh, my artists aren't as organically clever as I thought they were. And they don't have to be. Like that's the thing is, I think people are like, oh, you had someone come up with that idea for you. You're a terrible musician. I'm like, no, like you're just doing it right. Like you have a team.
Well, this has been episode 4 of the Jordan Ritchie Podcast. Thank you so much, Sam Nahirny, for being on.
No worries.
I mean, honestly, we have literally been talking for bang on an hour, and it's felt like we could talk for another 6.
Yeah, man. Enjoyed it.
But this is your moment. What do you want to plug? I mean, I know that you do about a million different things.
Yeah.
Obviously, your Instagram is just at Sam
Just
Nahirny.
the name, yeah, at Sam Nahirny.
Which is kind of where all of his amazing photography is.
Thank you.
I mean, is that where we'll also hear the news about the song?
Yeah, man. So Instagram is the hub. So at Sam Nahirny, we'll have everything on. It's worth shouting out the music charity. Just if you're a musician in Nottingham,
of course, yeah.
Around Nottingham, we are at Feel the Music on all socials. If you just Google music, you should find it as well. You know what? I'm going to do a very quick breakdown. At Sam Nahirny, Instagram for all the things you need. At Feel the Music for if you're a musician in Nottingham or Nottinghamshire who wants support, and we can help you in loads of different ways. If you're interested about where to eat in Nottingham, my food show at Gorgeous Knots is also on Instagram. And thank you, Jordan, for having me on.
Everyone else panics in that moment, and you just smashed it.
Got the list.
But well, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Got it,